Okay, it is the end of year testing coming up. So I wanted to, I had a parent ask me a question about this, especially being that we're still in the midst of, COVID. And what does that mean when the continuity of learning hasn't been there in a traditional fashion? So what do we do when it comes to the end of year testing requirements that are attached to every Student Succeeds Act, ESSA, and what does that mean for your child? First and foremost, guys, the end of year high stakes testing has zero to do with your child. It doesn't go on their transcripts. It's not reflected in any kind of way that would be measurable or applicable to your child. It tends to be, or it is, the report card for the school itself, okay? For your individual school and then the school district as a whole. It's something that was put into place, well, most parents are familiar with it under what used to be called No Child Left Behind, is sort of where this mindless obsession with high stakes testing came in, that I don't feel has a net benefit when it comes to actual learning. I think that there's an obsession nationally, or there was, and I think it's just sort of become habitual in our day and age now, to where people are comfortable with um, chasing results instead of focusing on the individualized progress of the students, and they're not necessarily the same thing. And I would prefer the focus be back on the students, not on the high stakes testing, not on the results that make principals look good or make principals look bad, or individual teachers. And some of these states connect teacher value with regards to compensation and tenure. Those kind of things are attached to these high stakes tests, and I don't think that's fair. And I don't think that's a good way to measure teacher value in any way. But that's sort of the animal that we have, and which I don't agree with. So when it comes to these end of year high stakes tests, I have a lot of clients that they're just anxiety ridden. It creates a lot of unnecessary behavior, absences, turmoil. And so the question is posed, can I opt out? And that's sort of one of the things. And of course, I threw up Alabama. The majority of the people in this group are in Alabama because that's where my home base has been. But keep in mind, guys, we take cases. My office does in Texas and New Mexico, Tennessee, Georgia, and Alabama, of course. So when it comes to this opt out, I'm only dealing with Alabama right now, and some of the things that I have will include other states. Like I have this um, little document, Fair Test, National Center for Fair and Open Testing. I think that this is a good little one-page document that you could look up. And so what I'm going to do is that better? Let's just do this right now. You don't need to see me. So as far as boycotting, and I hate the word boycotting, how about opt out? Standardized tests without the fear of the state losing federal financial penalties, which is technically the consequence within every Student Succeeds Act. If they don't have enough students participating, then the state runs a risk of losing federal funds. So it's sort of the carrot for the states to sit there and have high rates of student participation, is because it is connected to federal funds. But at the same time, there hasn't been an instance where there has been a loss of federal funds due to low rates of participation. And every year, more and more parents are opting out of the high stakes testing. So there are 10 states, if you look at this: Alaska, California, Colorado, Idaho, North Dakota, Minnesota, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Utah, and Michigan, that have laws specifically allowing parents to opt their children out. And none of these states have ever been sanctioned for including that opt-out provision with regards to their children participating in these high-stakes end-of-year tests. So if you're in one of those states, then there you have it. Your state specifically authorizes that you can opt your children out. So in that regard, that's good news, right? If you don't want your child participating. Now, your state may not tell you that. Your local school may not tell you that. In fact, they may frame it as though you don't have an option and that you must participate. And that's not the case. So what about these other states that don't have these laws? Okay, now I'm going to go back in time in Alabama to 2017 because they don't specifically have an opt-out provision by the state. All right, so what do you have to do? So this was under the former state superintendent that is no longer there, but the reason that I'm pulling that up is that you're going to find there's a strange continuity between 2017 under the old state superintendent and the new one with the current state superintendent. So what they title it is absences during testing days. Now, if you look at this, it says, do I have that pulled up? Yes, I do, but let's go ahead and remove me from the screen once again. Okay, so if you look at this, it's titled absences during testing days because, as it says, there is no recognized process or approved form for this action of opting out. Now, that doesn't mean that it's prohibited. That just means that there's no rule that says that they can opt out. But as you can see, there is also, if there's no provision for opting out, but that also means that there's no provision opting you in or forcing you to take it. All right, which means that you can choose options if you're one of those parents that just do not believe that this is beneficial for your child. This second page is what's applicable. The department wishes to respect parental rights pertaining to their child's education. Should a parent refuse to allow his or her child to participate in our state-approved ACT assessments, regular student attendance policies apply if the child is absent. If present, that student should be given an alternative assignment in a supervised area of the school. Any student who does not participate due to parental refusal will not count for or against your overall school scores. Now, this memo is for city and county system test coordinators. They're for administrators so that they are aware that they cannot force your child to participate if you as a parent, using your parental rights, refuse to allow your child to participate. All right, so here it is. This memo isn't written for you. It's written for, once again, city and county system test coordinators and for administrators. So any student who does not participate due to parental refusal will not count for or against that particular school scores. The only area where non-participation is applicable is your participation rate. All right, so this middle stuff you can read on your own, but once again, if there is no specified opt-out, like on that first document to where it listed the states that do have a specified ability to opt out, that means that in the other states where there is no such rule, that also means that there is no rule forcing you to take it. Now, if your state wasn't listed, in the prior documents, then you do need to do a little bit of research. But I am not aware of one. Now, I could be totally wrong, but I am not aware of a state where it is written that your child is forced to participate. There could be some in this group that are going to say, yo, yeah, my state. And if that's the case, guys, please provide me where it is a stated requirement that your child must do the end of year high stakes testing. But most states are going to be either like Alabama. You saw the 10 states listed that have a direct uh, provision allowing an opt-out, but the rest of the states are going to be more like Alabama, to where there's no rule for it and there's no rule against it. It just means that you just don't send your child, and because you're a parent and you have parental rights, then at that point you have the ability to just refuse that your child participate. And as you can see from this form from 2017, that they need to, if your child is at school, then they need to provide your child an alternative assignment in a supervised area of the school, or if your child's absence, just normal absentee rules apply. Okay, which means that your child might be counted as unexcused absence. Okay, well here is, and let me put it back on the full screen so you can see it better. Here is the current superintendent. And as you can see, the only real difference is going to be this first paragraph compared to the other one. And as far as opting out, there is no recognized process for or approved form for this action. And so you have to go back down to this second page again. We feel strongly that our assessment program provides invaluable information to students, their parents, their teachers, who work with them in assuring they are ready for college and careers upon graduation. Certainly, we wish to respect parental rights pertaining to their child's education. Should a parent refuse to allow his or her child to participate, regular student attendance policies apply. If present, the student should be given an alternative assignment in a supervised area of the school. So as you can see, identical policies from 2017 as opposed to this current school year, okay? And so therefore that has remained consistent even back before 2017. That has been the consistent policy in Alabama. They're not going to publicize it. They're not going to tell you, but I want to tell you with confidence though, that if you're being told by administrators or threatened or bullied by administrators that there is no opt-out, that you must have your child participate, then I'm going to have the links so you can print these out and have them on the ready to share with your school and your administrator if you choose to opt out of into your testing. That's in Alabama, of course. But you can go to your state Department of Education website, and where I found this in Alabama is in their memorandum section, which most states are going to have a memorandum section from their state superintendent. And if you do some research, you should be able to find it because this is not an uncommon, it's not an unusual area of concern. But like I said, if you happen to live in one of the 10 states that do have provisions to opt out, then you're solid if that's what you choose to do. In other states, you will have to do some additional legwork in order to identify this. But in Alabama, you're good because I am providing the links for you if you so choose to opt your child out of those high stakes tests.